All right, everyone, we should be live. Let's make sure that's actually the case. Over on Rumble, of course, we will unpause and then repause as usual. We do have some good news to get to today, by the way. TGIF, I suppose. So we'll get to some of the news and, of course, the sponsors. We've got to talk about inflation and the differential, by the way, with which it's being regarded. This is the big news of the day because, I mean, the coverage of it makes absolutely no sense. When you look back at legacy media articles from the Biden administration, inflation is treated slightly differently. You've probably noticed this too if you keep up on economic news. See the East Wing demolition from satellite images. Yes, indeed, a remnant of FDR's virulent racism has been bulldozed to the ground. I congratulate President Donald Trump for being an extreme anti-racist and destroying more racism than all of the people that were throwing down statues of people that never owned slaves. Talked about that this morning. That's a little bit of sarcasm there, but I mean, it is still technically true, so, you know. Families outraged after high school student in violent sex assault cases avoids prison as youthful offender. Yes, in the state of Oklahoma, actually, Butler, Jesse Butler, who is 18, so this is an adult, at least theoretically speaking, basically got a slap on the wrist punishment after holding women down and choking them while raping them. Very, very interesting how the legal system does differential enforcement. And we'll turn about that as well. Viral matcha cocktail trend may not be as healthy as it looks, say experts. Believe it or not, if you're slumming down booze, adding a little bit of tea to it doesn't make it necessarily considerably more healthy. I think the average person could probably glean this information from common sense. Apparently, some people didn't get the memo. Matcha is a big thing. And I have had matcha tea, by the way. It is fairly good. I prefer my jam and bean. Thank you very much. Chai latte, doesn't really matter what it is. Get some Yunnan jig in there. Some green tea, maybe. A tisane, some herbal fragrance. You can put that in a mixed drink, too. But despite how good jam and bean is, adding, a bag of tea's worth of tea to a mixed drink is not necessarily making it more healthy for you. And we've got other news stories we may cover. A New York City voting guide for people who aren't insane. That comes from the Pirate Wires. They're endorsing Cuomo tacitly, but it's a very gentle sort of endorsement. It's basically like, if you have to eat shit, this shit is the least bad of the three shits. That's basically what they're pitching there. Just tell us, we love the Hex and Hammers in Lincolnton, North Carolina. That's what I'm talking about. Will Gooding. Sticks, did you know that Asmongold's name for John Bolton is the retarded walrus on Ozempic? No disagreement there. Yeah. Taco Woman Sandy Ravage. If Chicago starts trying to arrest ICE agents, what do you think the reaction from the White House should be? Lethalize lethal force. Just say, look, stand your ground. You're allowed to do that. You're, investigating a federal crime. It is no longer state or local jurisdiction. You act with impunity. Go ahead and do your thing. This will come with problems because the first time that an ICE agent actually has to tackle a local law enforcement officer, there will probably be some sort of riot. This is actually a good thing, though. If the general public sees a bunch of feds and a bunch of stateies and a bunch of locals fighting, then they'll realize how shitty the justice system really is, which we'll be getting into with regards to this particular case with regards to Jesse Butler. Actually, just today. Crispy Sticks, what's the obsession with the New York City mayoral race? Let that place rot. Well, here's the thing. Because it's politically meaningful and it's ideologically meaningful. I don't really care if New York City decides to elect a communist. It does not affect me. That being said, it could be a bellwether of things to come. If Mamdani comes down below what he's expected to come in as, that will be a political bellwether. Like, let's say Cuomo gets 35 or something like that, which I think he's a little bit below that. that would be a good indicator that there's no mandate. Mamdani will fail, and Cuomo's probably going to end up running again on the I Told You So platform. That's my prediction for the next mayoral election. Matthew, did you see the Tish James press conference? I saw a few clips from it of her being absolutely frenetic and not really knowing what the fuck she's doing. But that's been basically the way she's operated for years anyway, so it's not a real surprise, you know. Road Scholar, Mamdani and Cuomo will split lib votes. Silwa wins. That will not happen. Although he seems, of the three of them, to be the only one that has any semblance of sanity. Will Gooding, I think that taco woman Sandy Ravage should change her name from taco to nacho. Rhymes better with macho. Lol. I actually had some good nachos last night from Bueno Burrito. Good restaurant here in Rutland, by the way. You should patronize them if you happen to come by. I mean, the burritos are fucking the size of fucking footballs, so, you can't go wrong with that. Get yourself a burrito and some nachos. You can always get extra sauce, which is what I always do. There's never enough, when they just pour it on in the first place. You always have to ask for a little bit of extra. That's the way to go. But yeah, let's look at inflation. Inflation is 3.1 at the moment. This is an upgrade, actually, from August, which was 2.9. So it's not, crushing people, but it is still there. This Bidenflation is going to be sticky, in my opinion, for quite some time. Trump is trying his best to tamp down on it, but it's going to take him months. It's probably years, honestly. We're hoping that we get another deflationary economy like we got under first-term Trump. For a few quarters, there was deflation actually going on. Prices were not rising. They were actually going in the opposite direction. It's going to be hard to pull it off, but if we've learned anything about Donald Trump from his first term, you remember Obama's economic magic wand statement? Well, in order to get unemployment lower than, 4% or something like that, Trump would need a magic wand. He managed to accomplish that. We're hoping that his magic wand works with inflation as well. It will take time, though. Spells don't just take a single day. Just saying. I would know from experience. I think that Trump, generally speaking, will get the genie back in the bottle, but it's not going to be perfect. Prices will continue to be high for some time. The hope is that we can go back to the prices that we had like 10 years ago. That would be wonderful. Yeah, I can actually buy pickles again and stuff like that. But here's the problem. It's the hypocrisy. The legacy media sites that ignored 8.9% inflation under Joe Biden when it was skyrocketing. All of a sudden, they're reporting on this. 3% is not great, it's not ideal, but it's certainly not catastrophic. It's better than the alternative, which is, 8-9% inflation, something like that. Something that you would see under Bidenomics. The situation has improved. Not enough, admittedly, and we do need to hold Trump's toes to the fire on this particular issue. If I go to the store and I'm paying $200 for, basic bitch groceries, that's unacceptable. Now, it's not Trump's fault. He's not the one that created the economic situation under which that actually happened. That's admitted. But people are going to expect him to do more. And a lot of people are going to be more fickle. That is, that they don't really see the long game. They don't focus on long-term aspirations within socioeconomics. They're just going to blame Trump flat out. Because, of course, why wouldn't you? The buck stops here. If only they had done that under Biden, but the legacy media would have to prod them into doing so. Yeah, Letitia James is cooked, by the way. It doesn't matter if she pleads not guilty. That's an automatic response unless you're saying, shit, I'm so dead to rights, I need to get a plea deal, basically. Will Gooding, nachos rule. I agree. Yeah, I had some nachos, but mainly I was eating tuna noodle casserole last night. And by the way, with extra peas, extra creaminess, and a lot of ketchup, tuna noodle casserole is one of the most delicious things in the world. I will be eating some more later, actually. Yeah, I ate 2.5 bowls last night. I'll probably eat a couple more today, so leftovers don't get left over very long in this household as long as I'm alive. Especially if tuna noodle happens to be on the menu. Yes, Inner City Pigeon, ketchup does go on tuna noodle casserole. Just try it, please, just once. Give me a thrill and try it. In fact, I wish I had some right now because I'm actually on the hungry side. But you gotta power through your work first. It's a fucking Friday. We're talking about matcha mixers and stuff like that. Let's get to our sponsors before we get to the rest of the news, because we will be covering the East Wing of the White House. Again, that will be a little bit of snark and sarcasm, but it will be funny as well. I'm loving that story. I wish I could watch the entire live demolition, like on replay or something like that. We have cultivated-mind.com, where you can get energy pills, yes, brain squared, radiant energy, immune defense. That doesn't really matter. All of them seem to work pretty well. I'm hopped up on mushroom pills and extracts right now. You've also got Doggo Dose, so you can also improve the health of your doggy, your pupper, your sweet little friend, man's best friend. He's eating mushrooms and shit. Okay, well, he's definitely bro tier. I take at least one of these every day, by the way. Not to be flippant, but it does definitely improve my energy level. I have noticed. It's also neuroregenerative. Probably the only thing keeping me alive at this point. Then we have BiltongUSA.com. Anton can get you imports. He can get you 10,000 types of meat. Well, not literally 10,000, disclaimer, but lots of them. You got Wagyu, you've got Cabanassi, you've got some Angus, you got venison, you got buffalo, you've got all sorts of stuff. And then these imports, this one's Vegemite. Pretty good stuff. You put that on some toast. You only need a little bit, though, because it's very, very salty. Bovrite's my favorite, but I've got that in the kitchen because I use it whenever I make soup, stew, or stir fry, because it's so good. We've also got Stick, Sex, and Hammer mugs and tumblers available as well. And finally, jamandbean.com. Raise glass to Jam and Bean. Yunnan Jig. It's some good stuff. You can get coffee. Which smells delicious. Clanker blend. We've got various other blends. All sorts of teas. Basically, if you want coffee or tea, look no further. Links in the description. Use code STICKS, by the way, on all 3 sites for a discount. It's a good time, let me tell you. Like, the perfect night is basically some toast with Bovrite, some of the tea from Jam and Bean, took a couple of mushroom pills, just so you feel more energetic, and then you shitposted for a while. By the way, I am pissed. I am going to say something before I get to the rest of the news. I'm pissed at the French. No offense to any French subscribers. Last night, I played a game of Napoleon Total War. Now, I have played hundreds of these games, and this is only the 3rd time that I've actually lost, okay? I have lost once against the computer. That was in a Russian campaign, but that was because I had just barely started playing the game, and I didn't understand which troops I should deploy and how, because I was still learning. Another time, Elizabeth actually destroyed me. She was playing as Russia, if I remember correctly. She managed to snipe off my general and my artillery with her cavalry units, because she snuck behind the lines, so to speak, and just charged them down. My remnant force was so debilitated at that point, I didn't really have a chance. But this time, I'm playing as Prussia, right? I've got my normal alignment. So I've got my howitzers forward, because in the Spanish lakeside, it's good to use howitzers, because they can fire through trees more easily. And I've got my flanks set up, everything is perfectly fine. I figured I'd send some men up the hill, but I was expecting the French to take the hill. Because it's like, you're deployed on that side, why wouldn't you march up the hill? No, they just completely ignored it. I was completely a fucking lone with a bunch of landwehr, a bunch of militia, trying to defend this fucking hill. There was no way to defend it. And so they took that flank, and I managed to grind them down and kill both of their generals. So it was a close defeat, but I still got defeated in the end. I was pissed. You completely abandoned me. You just flew down the center, and, I'm firing artillery right into these woods. You're getting hit too. Yeah, you're real intelligent, dude. It was a fun time, though. I really, really love playing Napoleon Total War. I think I'll play it again tonight. Or maybe Oregon Trail. I like both of those games. Yeah, Ubuk, haha, and a closet full of various national flags to surrender with. Yeah, no, I mean, they got cut down almost immediately. They just started disappearing. I think it was mainly my artillery that was killing them, and I'm not trying to kill them. They're my ally, but I should have chosen a different ally. Maybe next time I'll go with the Ottomans or something. Will Gooding, Sticks, do you like rocks, gems, and or crystals at all? 100% yes, absolutely. Obsessed with them, actually. Just got myself a nice hunk of blue labradorite the other day, and it is stunning to hold and look at. Yes, I love minerals. I've been obsessed with them since I was a small child, actually. I used to have a huge gem and mineral collection. It's gone for the most part, but I still have some left. I'm just trying to find that Relgar, actually. Oh, no, vanadinite, actually. Similar, arsenoid. I do know quite a bit about minerals. Like turquoise, phosphate related, if I remember correctly, and so forth. I have a piece of turquoise, actually, out there that I got at a market many, many years ago. I was probably 12 or something. I've still actually got it. The other one I lost. It's a beautiful piece. I should show it off sometime. Now we're going to talk about Donald Trump destroying racism. The East Wing of the White House was famously commissioned by none other than Franklin Delano Roosevelt, and completed in 1942, actually. It has now been effectively destroyed to make room for a renovation, and then, of course, Donald Trump's ballroom. Franklin Delano Roosevelt, you'll remember, is the tyrant president, the literal communist, by the way, who, number one, redesigned the White House, and number two, threw hundreds of thousands of people into concentration camps based on their ethnicity. So I see this as nothing more than Donald Trump throwing over a statue now, do you? This is, by the way, an extremely good tactic to debate all of these people that are rambling about the White House. Hey, this dude literally put people in concentration camps because they were Asian. Some of them weren't even Japanese. And then there were a handful of Germans and Italians or something like that. He threw hundreds of thousands of people into these camps, and some of them got shot trying to escape, by the way. So Donald Trump really is just erasing the legacy of racism in the country. Not that long ago, you were throwing down statues of people who, in many cases, were not slave owners. They were not traders. They were simply defending their family or their land or something like that. They had no greater purpose in mind. They simply had a military background and happened to sign up and say, yeah, I'll fight for the Confederacy. But they didn't even have slaves. Maybe they had a house mammy or something like that. I would notice that liberals today love to have a house mammy too. I would love to have a house mammy. You know, sounds like fun. But they weren't fighting for slavery. That's a complete misconception. Historically speaking, it makes absolutely no sense. You're throwing their statues like in the river or removing them off to the back room of a museum or something like that, even though they weren't really doing anything wrong. They fought for what they believed in, and that was really the only thing they were fighting for. They weren't fighting for any ideological premise. They were fighting for, in some cases, property possession. Considering the radical Reconstruction era, I can't actually say that they were completely wrong, by the way, in most cases. FDR was a bitter, cousin-loving cripple who had multiple affairs, too. He built the East Wing sort of as a vanity project more than anything else. It's hilarious to watch Donald Trump demolish it. I have no problem with this. By the way, this is not the White House. This is an annex built onto the White House. All of the Gavin Newsoms of the world claiming otherwise either don't understand architecture or ignore architecture. This Sertorius, no, it was actually Delaware. Technically speaking, it was Delaware. I mean, unless we want to get into a bickering over judicial versus legislative versus other positions that were made. But I believe, technically speaking, it was Joe Biden's home state. Yeah, I'm from Delaware, man. I was raised in, what was it, Philadelphia or Pittsburgh or something like that, Pennsylvania. I moved down to Delaware area, Rehoboth Beach is my home, man. And stuff like that. Yes, Delaware. You are correct, my sir. Yeah, I think New Jersey was the second to last. Yeah, I mean, there were northern states. People don't even understand this. Emancipation only applied to the Confederate states that had seceded. It didn't apply to any of the northern states. 4 of them still had slavery. If I remember correctly, 2 of them banned slavery through legislative action. So that was like people voted and they're like, you fuck this slavery shit. I think Kentucky was one of them. And if I remember correctly, Maryland. Then there were judicial decisions and they ruled it unconstitutional. The last holdout was Joe Biden's hometown in Delaware, of all places. And European sources, and you should really, really watch Razorfist takedown of Abe Lincoln if you really want to know the true skinny of this fucking story. Northern slave states, which had slaves longer than many of the southern states because they were freed in order to terrorize the local population into submission, actually the conditions were worse in the north. I can understand why. When you have a population of people that's not given proper clothing, being in a warm climate's probably a little bit more pleasant than being in a place that gets blizzards all the time. Just saying. Yeah, but it was technically speaking, it was Delaware. Ubuk, Mississippi is recognized as the last U.S. state to officially abolish slavery, certifying its ratification of the 13th Amendment on February 7th, 2013. Slightly different issue, though, because recognizing something and it being legally binding are 2 different things. Technically, the last state to actually practice slavery outside of the prison complex was Delaware. Again, Joe Biden's from there. There's probably a reason for this. Fucking weirdo. Will Goodings. You are... Oh, I already answered that. Yeah, I love, crystals and stuff like that. Actually, it was one of my obsessions as a child. I used to have this little box, and in it I had a bunch of high-grade Herkimer diamonds. Now, they're not particularly valuable. They're not actual diamonds. They're double-terminated quartz. So it's similar to quartz crystal. But they really, really shine. And I had a bunch of other gems that I'd collected. I had some rutilated quartz. I had some topaz. I had peridot, emerald. Nothing fancy. These were all, cheap cuts and stuff. But when you piled them all together, the way that they shone, it gave me joy. I enjoyed it very much. I'm sad that I don't have them anymore. I had 1 blue topaz and 1 smoky quartz. They're not expensive cuts or anything like that. They were like $15 or something. I wish that I had those back. The other ones, it's beautiful, it's pretty, you can make little, art pieces basically with them, but those are the only 2 that I really kind of miss. But they're gone. Families outraged after high school student in violent sex assault cases avoids prison as youthful offender. Yes, indeed. Apparently, if you're 18 years old, you're allowed to pin down and strangulate young women and rape them over and over again, and you get felony charges, but then they're deferred, and so nothing happens to you. So court filings show Butler. This is Jesse Butler in Oklahoma. And this is depraved. Court filings show Butler was originally charged as an adult in March. He's now being prosecuted as a youthful offender for rape, sexual battery, and domestic assault, and battery by strangulation. So he's choking people and fucking them in the ass and stuff like that. His next hearing is scheduled for December 8th in Payne County District Court. The Stillwater Police Department said officers were first notified September 12th, 2024, showing you, by the way, again, how slow the legal system works. This is over a year ago. A full investigation was initiated the following day that resulted in the SPD submitting the case to Payne County District Attorney's Office. Fuck you. Where it was reviewed and charges were filed, the department said in a statement. At the time, Butler was a student in Stillwater Public Schools. Now, of course, differential enforcement. We're going to talk about that at length. Court records obtained by COCO include several emotional victim impact statements. Those are meaningless, describing lasting fear and trauma. So we're going to get over that because those are meaningless. She said Butler threatened to kill her if she spoke out. A mother of one of the victims told Coco the justice system failed her daughter. So apparently, let's read the affidavit. A police affidavit reviewed by Fox News details brutal acts, including a girlfriend who said she was repeatedly raped and strangled if she refused, and a doctor warned she would have died in one instance if the strangulation lasted seconds longer. Now he's on a rehab plan. Yep. He was originally sentenced to 78 years in prison as an adult, but they decided to randomly vacate this despite the obvious, extremely violent nature of these crimes. And this does not surprise me. If a person runs afoul of the law, whether it's a violent crime, non-violent crime, it doesn't really matter, white collar or otherwise, and they are not part of the system, or the judge is not politically affiliated with them or something like that, they get the book thrown at them. He would have gotten the 78 years. If you are in the know, or if the judge is some laissez-faire liberal and you happen to be left-leaning or something like that, then you get a slap on the wrist. No, the poor kid, he's only 18. He didn't know any better than to strangle women and to fuck them in the ass against their will. He didn't know any better. He's allowed to go free. He can be on the streets. He's on the streets right now, I believe, and we'll do a rehab program. He's not allowed to use social media, and he has to have an ankle monitor, and that's the only punishment that you can give somebody who's committed that series of crimes. It would be one thing, let's say, you have a statutory rape case where a couple kids get drunk, and of course, Sally cannot consent when she's inebriated. Justin can. Somehow there's a gender preference with regards to this. So they get drunk, they fuck, she regrets it, she calls him in or something like that. You know, that kid's probably going away for 10 years at this point in some states. Meanwhile, this kid literally pins down a couple of women and fucking rapes them and nothing happens to him. I'm sorry, but I don't see how that's a justice system. I see that as perverse, actually. Justin, at the very least, he was inebriated too. I guess Sally raped him. This kid has no excuse. There was no apparent inebriation involved. He literally just pinned people down and then fucked the shit out of them. I would say that's a clear-cut crime. And I would say that 18 is old enough to know that you're not supposed to do that sort of thing. Yeah. Copium poppies. Poop. Indeed. Yeah, so if somebody, what happens when the maps come out and they start self-identifying as 17-year-olds? Are you going to be allowed to charge them as adults? Because I have a feeling there's more than one judge in this land who actually would be amenable to their arguments. I wouldn't have thought that years ago. I would have thought, haha, funny joke about, left-wing so-called justice and stuff. Given what I've seen over the last 10 years, though, honestly, I wouldn't be surprised at this point. He's 40 years old, but he still wears diapers, so he's basically a child. And shit like that. We have a problem in the United States where serious crimes are ignored or, sort of brushed under the rug, and non-serious crimes are heavily prosecuted. Bobby Bobbinson says poop as well. There's a lot of poop going around here. Will Gooding, Opal, Iolite, Petersite, Covalite, Garnet. I love Garnet the best, by the way. There's a reason. Ammonite, Labradorite, and Unakite are some of the absolute fave gems and minerals. I love minerals. I like Herkimer diamonds. I like ruby, but I'm not really into precious gems that much. Garnet is my favorite because it's my birthstone. That's why I have my 100,000 subscriber ring actually on here. Garnet and silver, that's my favorite combination. I just think that it looks good. It's purifying, so to speak. A few others. I definitely like, I like Relgar, which isn't really decorative. It's just kind of cool. Vanadinite is really, really nice if you can get a good specimen. And I really like fossils, too. Ammonites, trilobites, the whole 9 yards. I used to have quite a collection of fossils, actually. It was impressive. I had some blastoids and stuff like that. I like fossils. It's fun. That thing used to be alive. The semblance of it is still there, in some cases like 50 million years later. It's kind of fun. Copium poppies. Feces. Also, some of those ammonites, when they've polished them off, if you sharpen those up, you could probably use that as like a ritual dagger or something. Just saying. Bobby Bobbinson, Sticks, would you stick a fossil up your rectum on stream? No, I'm not into butt stuff. Sorry. Sorry to disappoint you, Bobby. Viral matcha cocktail trend may not be as healthy as it looks, say experts. Believe it or not, stop the presses. I've got breaking news here. Putting a bit of tea into your booze does not magically make it less unhealthy for you. Normal people would, probably understand that. Apparently, there are some people that didn't get the memo. This is clickbaiting. So I basically wanted to talk about the legacy media take about this. I realize that some people are using matcha and other, herbal ingredients and stuff in cocktails. You go into the bar, you get your tea cocktail or whatever the hell it happens to be. I am sure this is going to become a niche industry. Hell, if I had the money to invest in it, I'd probably branch out and do it myself. Believe it or not, though, that shot of vodka that you're drinking does not magically become healthier because there's chamomile in it. Just saying. I mean, reasonably, intelligent people already knew that. Apparently, a lot of people aren't reasonably intelligent, though. Legacy media is acting, by the way, like it's some sort of huge trend among Gen Z. This appears to be a story about one singular bar, and I'm certain that other bars do similar things. Like if I owned a bar, if I was the manager, I'd invent all sorts of crazy drinks because it would be fun. And sometimes one of them might become very popular and it makes you money. That's the whole point. The whole point is not to be healthy. You're in a bar. You're probably not getting health food. Yeah, okay, we offered the hipsters some garden salad or something like that. Otherwise, what are we selling? Fucking nachos and shit like that. Which, by the way, are really, really good at Bueno Burrito. Repetha. ADL strikes again. No more feces. What? I don't even know what's going on over in chat. Sometimes I just have to take a hands-off approach. Will Gooding. That's so awesome, Sticks. Love that beautiful garnet ring of yours, sir. I actually am fortunate enough to own a 6-pound garnet sphere myself. It isn't my birthstone, but I still love it. Jade, too. Interesting. Somewhere, and I don't know where my mom put it, we have a green garnet sphere, as well as a sphere of rutilated quartz. Some of the mineral collection is actually still here. I just don't know where it's being stored. I would love to see it again soon. I should probably arrange it. Used to be in a display case, but it's not there right now. So actually, I should probably ask about that later. But yes, I wear garnet because it's my birthstone, and I never wear gold. I only wear silver. That's because I believe that silver is purifying, it absorbs, and gold is corrupting. We've seen this before with human behavior, actually. So I never wear gold. I'm not interested in it. I like garnet, though. Another one, I like tourmaline. Tourmaline is really great. There's a place in New Hampshire called Ruggles Mine, and you can mine tourmaline and mica, actually, there. Mica, not the name of the cat, is this weird flaky mineral that I guess they used to use actually as window panes at one point. And it's very, very thin and clear, and you can literally cut it apart into little segments and stuff like that. It has various purposes, industrial included. And then tourmaline is more of like the mature version. And you can cut that into gems. I've had some tourmaline before. Or you can keep it raw. It's very beautiful, actually. Yeah. I'm a sucker for turquoise, too. I'll have to grab that turquoise out there and show it off. Maybe I'll do that tomorrow or something. Will Gooding, same. I only wear silver as well. Tourmaline is awesome. Also, I find garnet to be even more beautiful than ruby. I agree with you on basically everything. Are you my clone? Yeah, no, I like silver way more than gold. Gold is corrupting. And garnet, birthstone, tourmaline, just fucking fun. I think it has electronic applications, if I remember correctly. Because it's like striated, it's very, very linear in nature. I'm just waiting until somebody goes to Ruggles Mine and manages to cut into a cavern and it's literally nothing but a wall of crystals or something like that. And they're like, haha, I hit pay dirt. Every once in a while, somebody who goes to the Herkimer mine hits it rich too. I had this one Herkimer diamond this one time, and it was absolutely beautiful. It would barely fit in your hand. It was huge. And you know how I got it? When I was a kid, there was a gem and mineral show, right? In Burlington, Vermont. This is back in, I think this would have been about the late 2000s or something. So I'm not quite an adult yet. And they had this game out front. It was meant mainly for little kids. But for those of us who understood gems and minerals, it was basically, hey, it's a payday bar. And what you would do is you'd take a stick with a string on it. It was like fishing, and it had a little hook, and you would grab a cup, and then you got your minerals. And it was like 25 fucking cents or some shit like that. Now, the Herkimer diamond that I got in this one cup had to have been worth several $100s. It was almost perfect, and it was incredibly enormous. It was basically the whole cup. You're going to spend a lot more than 25 cents to get a Herkimer diamond like that in the fucking store. I would know. I've bought them separately as well. And this happened on several occasions. I had piles of Herkimer diamonds. There was one that I really loved. It was almost like an 8-sided crystal. With a little bit of polishing, it would have made an excellent brooch or a necklace or something like that. It was almost perfect. And I was attached to it, but I don't have it anymore. And then you get all sorts of other random stuff. You'd find fossils, you know, all sorts of crazy shit. I had a huge mineral collection. I couldn't even sort it all. And those were some of the best days of my life when I went to that with, fucking, you can sit out in front. You didn't even go in and actually, like, buy the normal stuff. Then you'd go in there and you'd get, like, a huge bag of Herkimer diamonds for, like, $1 or something like that. These are pre-Bidenomic prices, by the way. Can't imagine how much it would cost now. Yeah, that one Herkimer diamond, if I could have one of the things from my entire collection back, it would be that. And second to that only would be the blue topaz and the smoky quartz. I was attached to them, I will admit. I don't like getting attached to physical objects, but, you know, at the very least, they should be pretty. Frozen Freddy, thoughts on Trump cutting off trade talks to Canada? I support it. If they're not willing to belly up to the bar and actually talk at all, if they're just going to try to hardline, I think that the U.S. economy is slightly larger than that of Canada. Just saying. I think in the end, probably they're going to come to the bargaining table. A New York City voting guide for people who aren't insane. Yes, indeed, the pirate wires are basically endorsing Cuomo. Will he win? No. Mamdani will almost certainly win. Is it good that Mamdani wins? Yes and no. Here's the little bit of confluence here is this. Cuomo would be a better leader for New York City. Not perfect, absolutely not. Well, Sliwa technically would be the best, but he's got no chance, so we won't even talk about him. Cuomo is more sane than Mamdani. While that's not saying much, it is something to be said. That being said, Mamdani will almost certainly win. You have the tale of two, tyrannical regimes. Do you want to be communist or just sort of communist? That's basically the choice that New York City residents are being offered at this moment. While if I thought that he had a chance to win, and I was living in New York City, okay? So I actually have to deal with the fallout of New York City collapsing, I would vote for Cuomo. But I don't have to deal with that fallout, and Mamdani is certainly going to win, or near certainly going to win. I would just vote for Mamdani. Or I wouldn't vote at all. I would just say, to hell with this shit, and roll my eyes. New York City is going to suffer, and it'll be a lesson to the rest of the nation. And so here's where you've got both a win and a loss. The loss is for people in New York City. Mamdani can't possibly follow through with the shit that he's doing without bankrupting the city. And or the state, by the way, because, they siphon money like a fucking sponge all the time. Upstate New Yorkers, don't worry, I have sympathy for you. So either you siphon off the money and or go bankrupt, or you don't follow through with your plans at all, and then the left abandons you, and you certainly don't get reelected at that point. With Andrew Cuomo, it'd be more like a slow staggering, sort of going along with the Schumer-style politics and stuff like that. Honestly, therefore, it doesn't really make a difference, honestly. Sadly, New York City is doomed. George Mamdani does ass play with a goat. I wouldn't be surprised. Keep in mind he's a rich bitch pretending to be a member of the working class. Mamdani does not have my respect. Cuomo, meanwhile, he'll just tell you, I'm wealthy, here's my propositions. Sliwa is the most intelligent of the three. He's quite clearly the only one that's actually competent for the job. The problem is New York City residents appear to have preemptively rejected him, so he cannot be elected. The fact is, it was funny. His optics, by the way, are poor. If you're going to walk around in a red beret, expect to be assumed to be a communist or something like that. Meanwhile, he's actually the sane one. He's the non-far leftist. But he doesn't understand optics. I believe that is part of the get-up that he and other people have been using to try to combat street crime, if I remember correctly. And he also owns a lot of cats. So again, Sliwa has my respect, but he cannot win. That's the problem. And he should drop out, but it doesn't matter if he endorses Cuomo. Cuomo probably can't win even with an endorsement of that kind at this point. Misner Flux. SETI and international agencies quietly updated alien first contact protocol a few days ago. Only they're allowed to talk to aliens. Just a comment? You don't have to worry about aliens. They're nowhere near us. There are extraterrestrial life forms in the universe. This is a certainty. There are other extraterrestrial life forms in the galaxy. This is a certainty. Hell, there might already be some life on places like Mars. I have a feeling that it's considerably more flush than we realize. That's because of technological considerations. Would any intelligent species in its right mind really visit this planet when it's surrounded by a death shroud of fungal spores and bacteria, and filled with ape-like creatures that bomb one another as a living? I don't think so. They're nowhere near us. They probably avoid this solar system like a fucking plague. Don't worry about aliens. They're not interested in us. Or if they're interested in us, they're studying us from a great distance and saying, well, hopefully their technology doesn't, become large enough that they can actually see us, because these people are fucking freaks. There are absolutely intelligent extraterrestrial life forms. 100% chance. No reservations whatsoever. The Drake equation will eventually be seen as nothing more than bullshit, effectively. They are out there. They may be aware of our presence. If I was aware of the presence of a species of reasonably intelligent, ape-like creatures, wielding weapons that were capable of destroying small planets, and they killed each other for pleasure, and their planet is surrounded by pathogens, what would I do? Well, I wouldn't get anywhere near that fucking planet. I wouldn't get within, I wouldn't even enter the solar system. I would say, fuck, yeah, you go ahead and extinct yourselves or something. But I can guarantee that they're out there. Statistically speaking, when we look at just the size of the galaxy, there's got to be other intelligent life here. Then when you're talking about hundreds of millions of trillions of quadrillions of galaxies, dude, there's no possibility that there's not intelligent life elsewhere. Otherwise, you're effectively making a religious, not a scientific argument. You're saying that we specifically were singularly chosen out of everything in the entire universe, thinking about how vast it is, to be intelligent, self-aware, and to be religiously led. It's nothing more than a religious argument, and it's bullshit. It's completely wrong. Religion is bullshit. That's not real. The fact is, the scientific argument holds up. We are one of many, many species out there, all over the place, that are intelligent. Mostly, they don't have contact with each other because they're either not capable or not willing. If we're lucky, the people that are guiding our civilization will take the same hands-off approach and say it's too dangerous to contact these alien species. Not because they're necessarily violent, although they might be. Of course, evolution will tend to favor competition. That engenders violent behavior. This is a natural trait of intelligent life forms. But because the pathogens on their planet might literally kill our entire species. So they're not coming to Earth. They're not interested in it. They're not crazy enough to do so. And if they are crazy enough to do so, they probably brought those pathogens back to their planet and went extinct. It is entirely possible that some crazy life form on a nearby planet, maybe the next star system over or something, came to Earth, right? This is a funny thing. I haven't heard it mentioned before, so maybe I'm actually being novel now. Imagine that some aliens, self-aware, they've got their ships and everything like that, they come to Earth. They get sick. They go back home. And then they infect everyone else and they get bombed, effectively knocked back to the Stone Age. This is actually possible. If there's been any alien contact with Earth, then chances are that alien civilization is gone. We might find some remnants of them, though. Just like somebody someday might find remnants of our civilization. Jack the Tech. The Dark Forest theory says if they come, it won't be in peace. I disagree. I believe that if an alien civilization does come to Earth, and I don't believe that it's going to, they would come in peace. I believe that they would be trying to simply study and or communicate and or exchange, but they would all die. And probably everyone on Earth would die too, because of the crossing of pathogens. But that would require a species that was at like stage 1. So they're intelligent enough to get here, but they're not intelligent enough to know proper protocol with regards to disease and things of that nature. It'd probably be more advanced than ours, but let me ask you a question. Is there any certainty that any other, potentially spacefaring race is actually above us? How do we know that we're not particularly advanced? Maybe we've actually gone the distance, so to speak. We have no way of knowing that. My take is simply mathematical. We're probably somewhere near the middle of the bell curve. That means that there are species that are considerably more advanced, and species that are advanced, but they're less advanced. Maybe something on the order of hominids, or archaic Homo sapiens, or maybe the Bronze Age, or something like that. Something on that order. And this brief, narrow window in time sort of determines whether the species survives at all. If they get too big a dick, and they decide to go out into space, and randomly visit other planets and stuff, they might get sick. They might have a fucking problem with that, assuming they've developed the technology at all. If they don't get to that point, well, then they're not quite as advanced. We're in, I think, what might be a bell curve sweet spot, which is that we're advanced enough to effectively, territorially, we can do all sorts of things with our own planet. We're capable of going out to other nearby planets. We're capable of creating a nucleus of humanity that would be resistant to any disaster that happened on Earth. For instance, a mega volcano eruption or something like that would knock us back to the Stone Age. Well, if you've got a lunar colony or something like that, and enough people, a nucleus of humanity, they can always come back down when conditions are better and repopulate. I don't think that it's a good idea to bother going into interstellar space. The only way that you can do that, as far as I can see it with current technology, would be to take a rocket, put genetic material on it with a robotic system that was independently powered. There would be nuclear, solar, every power system you could possibly rig up. It would fly out into the hinterlands, and eventually it would be able to effectively create human life. It would have to have artificial wombs and everything like that. This gets into a realm of ethics and utopia and dystopia that most people wouldn't even want to think about. So it's probably not going to happen. Other than that, there's no possibility of an individual human, like if I get on a rocket right now, there's no way for me to get into interstellar space before I die. It's just not possible. Bobby, would you pork an alien if it was hot? Yeah, I'd fuck an alien. Yeah, absolutely. Never gonna get the chance, but... Fragile Wolf, I believe many of our politicians are alien lizards. Yeah, that's the old joke about the reptilians and stuff. God, you want to go down the fucking rabbit hole, dude? Read Brantonia's material. In fact, I'll get you the link. If you want to see some really crazy stuff, this is what you need. This is an old Angel Fire site, by the way. Although this isn't the right page. I have to go to your main page, but for some reason it's not there. Shit, did they take down their Angel Fire? Oh god, I hope not. I don't have the original files except on CD. I'd have to dig those out, they're down in the basement and shit. Fuck. Well, that sucks. I'm going to try to find this for you. It's called Brantonia. And it's about the Hollow Earth, Nazis, UFOs. Basically, name the theory, it's part of it. Paranormal, ghosts, sea monsters, pretty much everything. Damn. Their site was up a year ago. Let's see. Aha! I believe I found it. Yes! All right. That's what I'm talking about. It's just, if you made a site, fucking 15 years ago, it might be a little bit less searchable. Yeah, go to that. Have fun. Make sure to visit the Inner Earth. That's a good idea. Vexed Barrel. Space is AIDS. No, seriously, you go through this, you're gonna spend a lot of time going down one hell of a fucking rabbit hole. Part of this is true, part of it is false, part of it is psyops, government ops, crazy space shit, Operation Paperclip. Part of it is more natural, and then part of it's just bullshit. Part of it's geological. We were talking about crystals and stuff like that earlier. That figures into this. So, yeah. Bobby, what if the alien was hot, but it squirted burning acid on your cock? Well, I'm assuming if they have alien technology, they can just regrow me a new cock, I guess. So that's alright. Pork Chop Express wouldn't even have to hop. For real. Oh, yes. Misner Flux, agree on math of universe, but going out on a limb, your thoughts on Sitchin's translation of the Sumerian clay tablets regarding origins. I am semi-familiar with that. With regards to the, Enki-affiliated human origin, possible. Yeah, it's possible. But it's unlikely. As far as that particular tale goes, it's funny because it actually fits in with a cult that I was associated with. I was never a member. Don't worry, I never joined a cult or anything like that. But there was one cult that was in communication with me many years ago. This is long, long before I blew up on the internet. And it was actually a cult of Enki. They were effectively devil worshippers. And they did want me to join their movement. I did not, by the way. Some weird stuff. It's basically, technically, it's Luciferianism, but of a sort. It's kind of, I don't know. I don't know how to classify it. I've got all sorts of crazy literature, and trust me, if you saw my full collection of cult literature and crazy letters and stuff like that I've gotten from people, you probably wouldn't fucking believe it. Will Gooding. Speaking of space and aliens, moldavite is a brilliant green mineral glass that was literally formed from meteorites. Yes. I like when olivine forms in meteorites, and it also forms in, I believe, tectonic material as well. One of my favorites, peridot / olivine. It's some good stuff. It also looks really nice. That looks better with gold, though, so that's why I don't wear peridot. Garnet looks better with silver. Peridot looks much better with gold. Also sticks. Will Gooding. Did you hear about the farmer whose dog led him to find the largest meteorite field in North America was on his property, sitting on millions worth of iridium and palladium? I didn't hear about that, but that's fascinating. Man, I guess I should buy a dog, just in case. Brian Zwar, amethyst. Yeah, I like amethyst too. Had a bunch of that. I am, with regards to the quartzite minerals, I think my favorite one, though, is citrine quartz, actually. I like that sort of yellowish smoky color, as long as it's properly cut. Amethyst is cool, though. I like purple. Rose quartz is fun. I had one quartz crystal as a kid that I kept as a lucky charm. It sort of, it looked a little bit like that award that they gave in that one fucking game show, The Crag. You can still occasionally find them online, by the way. It looked a little bit like The Crag. It was just like a crystal sticking up out of a base. And I carried that around everywhere, but I lost it. And I was very, very upset when that happened. Also, another mineral story. When I was a kid, I don't know whether this was local stratum or fill that was imported in, but I kept finding tektites, actually. Tektites look like meteorites, but they're actually naturally produced, often by industrial processes or by volcanic activity. And I used to collect them all of the time. I had a whole box full of them that I found in a play yard, actually behind the elementary school that I was at. And actually, because they look so much like meteorites, one of them was literally analyzed by some dude with a master's degree at the local university. And he's like, no, it's not a meteorite. Also, I had a really nice meteorite, but it got lost. Yeah. Box full of tektites and arsenoids. I've done scientific experiments on minerals many, many times. One time, I don't know what the fuck I did. I had some minerals that were effectively cooked off and extracted, and then I had them in a liquid, distilled water, of course. And I'm like, I wonder what the elements are here. Then I poured fucking fertilizer in there and it turned red. Yeah, I had a good time as a kid, let me tell you. I may have been insane, but at the very least, I was intelligent. That was a fun time. And then I electrified insects and caused them to attack one another and did all sorts of other crazy shit. Look, I was a hellion when I was a kid. Some of you would have really, really liked me, and some of you would have really, really disliked me. But at the very least, give me credit. Give me some sympathy and some grace. At the very least, I was being smart. Bobby! Bobby Bobbinson. Are you gonna curse someone? No, not at the moment. Fireburn, mad scientist Tarl Warwick. Yeah, let's just put it this way. When I was in elementary school, I wish that I had owned a lab coat. There was this one time, we're in science class, right? And, of course, the teacher can't manage everyone. Mr. the fuck was his name? Mr. Stayhauer. He couldn't manage everyone. And we were using microscopes and stuff like that and doing, some chemistry tests and just basic stuff, elementary school level. And he couldn't manage them. I'm flying around the fucking classroom calibrating everyone's microscopes and everything. He brought this up at a parent-teacher meeting. He's like, wow, he knows what he's doing. But that's because I had one at home. I was playing around with that all the time. King of Biltong! He is here! That means we need a little bit of a snack. Hello, Anton, my friend. Thank you. Thank you for giving me the initiative to do that. Whenever Anton arrives, we eat Biltong, or Vegemite, or Marmite, or Bovrite, or a bunch of dozens of other things. Haha. Yeah, the Bovrite actually was used. I can't bring the Bovrite over because it's in the other room. I used that as a base for another food. Marvin, king in the castle, king in the castle. I've got my own chair. That reminds me, I was actually thinking earlier about watching Borat. Hey, you electrified insects? Oh, I did much more than that. I conducted scientific studies. I even attempted to, let's say, graft pieces of one living thing onto another. Did that with plants, though, so no worries. Yes, I would use the electrical arc. Once I found out that the glowing ball, the ones with lightning in them, you touch them and they vibrate a little bit and they look pretty cool and they're pretty fun. If you put metal on one of these, it generates a direct voltage. If you can therefore put a ring of metal on top of it, attach to a chain, whatever, something conductive, and hold it using something non-conductive, you can create an electrical arc if you interact it with another metal surface. So, you can burn the leg off a grasshopper, amputate it, and you won't get shocked if you do it right. You can use a paperclip for this, by the way. And then you can attempt to graft pieces of living things onto one another. Isn't that wonderful? A little bit weird. Turtle's Toy Box. Translation. Styx tortures animals. When I was 10 years old, yes, I cut the legs off of insects. I also burned ants with a magnifying glass. If somebody has a problem with that, well, that's their problem, not mine. I wasn't motivated by malice. I was motivated by a desire to understand these life forms and how they operated. Copium poppies. I genocided numerous anthills as a kid. I'm never going to get over that particular ant problem solution. Crispy Sticks was the kid all parents told their children to be wary of. You mean wary, not weary. No, I was the kid that they copied their homework from. Of course, I was not thinking about morals at the time. I was just interested in how these life forms actually worked. Tried to graft a piece of a chive plant, I believe, onto a cactus once. Of course, it didn't work, but it was still a valuable lesson. You have to learn about vascularity and how to actually graft. Then my grandfather taught me how to graft. It worked a lot better. Skippy, I hear most serial killers tortured animals when they were young. Well, I haven't killed anyone yet, so, I guess I'm lagging. Damn. Benjamin the Dream Wizard, 7 days until the divine message arrives. Test your ability to play music live with this link to my original work on Real AI Radio channel, and there's a Rumble link in the description. Yeah, no, I was a nerdy kid. I just did science stuff. I didn't think of it from a moral perspective. I mean, even the Legos that I liked were mostly the ones that were related to science. Like that, the best one was that, like, underwater laboratory. The one that was yellow, and it was sort of, I don't know, octagonal, I guess. And, you had octopuses and stuff. I really liked that one. Bobby, allegedly, Sticks chase people around with a knife. No, but I've done blood rituals with a knife. And I don't give a shit what anyone thinks about it. It doesn't matter to me. But yeah, I mean, I did things with insects as a kid, and grafting plants and stuff like that. I really liked growing things more than anything else, though. Horticultural class in middle school was one of the most fun times that I've had in my life. Everyone else abandons their fucking plants, by the way. I'm sitting there. I've got like a double tray, because I found it hilarious. Everyone else is like, oh, I'm gonna grow a cactus or something like that. But they all abandoned their plants. So I ended up grabbing them all. When I was leaving, I've got like 4 fucking trays of plants and shit like that. And I'm trying to figure out what the hell to do with them. And I didn't even have room for them. Couldn't keep them all alive. The only lineage that I've got left from middle school is my bromeliads. I've still got 4 of them over there. There's bromeliads in at least 3 other locations, by the way. My lineage, has perpetuated. And they're cool plants, too. Extremely low effort. Yeah, a little bit of shade, that's fine. A little bit too much sun. They'll survive. They'll be fine. And then you can infinitely replicate them through clones. It's a pretty fun plant. It's useless. I mean, other than looking at the flowers, which bloom maybe once a year. Why are people talking about my daughter? Yeah. I ain't raised up, my dude. I will show you my bromeliad in a minute, though. Yeah. Crispy Sticks, you ever grow pot? If I did, I wouldn't tell anyone. Since my address is public, probably best not to say whether I've got a bunch of weed lying around. King of Biltong! It's been 3 years this month since we've been working together, Sticks. Thanks for all the support from you and Clank Nation. Thank you, everyone. We could not have made it without your support. Well, with the quality of your meat and your other products, I think you would have made it anyway, but I'm glad to have made a contribution. Let's put it that way. Might eat some biltong later, actually. I was thinking about making a soup and putting some of the shredded stuff in it. Will Gooding, you see my Kurt comment, Sticks? I don't know that I did. Let me see it. People are too busy talking about animal torture. This is a normal live stream. Oh, I've been meaning to ask you, this is really random, but do you think that Kurt Cobain may have been murdered? Yes, 100%. Personally, I think it's a strong possibility. Yes, I agree with you. I believe that Kurt Cobain was murdered. Based on the fact that the text at the end of the, so-called suicide message looks like Courtney Love's, and the fact that he physically couldn't have actually blown his head off at that angle, and all of the other shit going on, yeah, I think that he was basically given a bunch of drugs, he just sort of passed out, he got his head blown off, the fingerprints get wiped, you put his hand back on it, you write the last bit, oh my god, Kurt's dead. I think we know who was guilty of that one. Might be that psychopath that once got detained for flipping out on an airplane and attacking a stewardess. It's always possible that somebody like that might do something crazy. I'm almost out of tea. Yeah, I believe... I've got to put a disclaimer on here because, I am putting this publicly. My belief is that it is likely that Courtney Love either killed or had Kurt Cobain killed. We'll put it that way. Just my opinion. I'm not making any allegations or anything like that. I'm just saying that this situation is real fucked up, dude. I also believe personally that it is likely that Yoko Ono had John Lennon killed. Just saying. Yeah, wife, not girlfriend. But, basically, he was fucking everything that moved anyway, so basically girlfriend. I have a feeling that there's a lot more intrigue in the world than most people want to believe. Just saying. Please make sure not to stick your dick in crazy. It might be the best sex you've ever had, but you can only have it for a little while because then you end up with your, beheaded or something. Yes, Fireburn, we know who killed Lennon, but we don't really necessarily have the whole backstory now, do we? Yeah. I think that my belief, my own personal opinion, Yoko had Lennon killed because he was leaning into libertarianism. He was abandoning the leftoidism. You can even see it reflected in his music if you pay attention. And she didn't like that. And also, he was banging around with his manager and several other people at the same time, and I think that she worried that she was going to be cut loose. With the Cobain-Courtney Love thing, I think it's quite clear she just, for drugged up probably and psychopathic reasons, I think, yes, I believe that she had him killed. She may not have done it herself, but one of these two things, I believe, in my opinion, is true. I make no allegation, I just observe things. Not that I really give a fuck. It'd be funny to get you end up sued by Courtney Love. Oh, that'd be fucking funny. When she shows up in court, throwing things at your head or something like that. Yes, Jacob Castro, you have a great point. Everyone on the left wants to claim John Lennon as like one of their saints. He was not into that. He told you, if you're carrying pictures of Chairman Mao, you ain't gonna make it with anyone anyhow. He fucking told you that he wasn't into that shit. Everyone just rope-a-doped him into it, basically. Anyways, I'm gonna go offline. It is weekend time. I'm gonna get some food and so forth. Sign of Jonah. Make sure to, message me if you got inside information. It's a good thing. So I'm going to go offline. I will be back on Monday with the next live stream. I will, of course, make my normal videos on Saturday and Sunday. I still didn't make the New Tech exclusive today because I had something else that I had to do on video. So I couldn't have the video maker open, and then by the time that was done, I didn't have time, before the live stream. So I'll probably make that later. And then I'm probably going to do literary work this evening. So I will be back. Do not worry. The Styx Hexen will be back. Goodbye. That's about all. Peace out.